This is Flashpoint, a political affairs program about people, events, and important issues shaping our community, with host Dave Wagner.
This week on Flashpoint, controversy over a Ground Zero Islamic Center prompts both protests and calls for unity. We're joined by a leader from the Islamic Center of Charlotte. A new ad in a North Carolina Senate race looks amazingly familiar to an ad we saw 2 years ago. We're going to let you compare them. And Charlotte City Manager gets a pay raise. We're going to discuss how that's being received during these tough economic times. First today, the 9th anniversary of September 11th is met with protests this week. Plans to build an Islamic Center near Ground Zero have outraged some, including a Florida minister who for now says he won't burn the Quran in protest. This week, the imam for the center said that all options are still on the table. He wouldn't say whether he'll consider moving the center.
We are working through what will be a solution, God willing, that will resolve this crisis, diffuse it, with a strip joint around the corner, with bedding parlors. It is absolutely disingenuous, as many have said, that that block is hallowed ground.
The fallout over the controversy is impacting the president right now. 44% of respondents in a new poll disapprove of how President Obama is handling that situation. Only 31% approve. There are an estimated 15,000 Muslims in the Charlotte area, and it's growing. We're joined today by Jibril Hough from the Islamic Center of Charlotte, and we appreciate you being with us today.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the Ground Zero Islamic Center. How has that been mischaracterized in this debate, the religion of Islam? How has that been mischaracterized by people?
The name, for one, is actually 2 blocks away from Ground Zero. And the building itself is more of a Y with an Islamic flavor. I think it's a 13-story building. The top 2 floors will be reserved for prayer space, which you could call a musalla, which means prayer space, or masjid. Much of the other part of the building will be dedicated to basketball courts, swimming pools, interfaith areas where people from other faiths can come and pray and worship. So it's very much something new, and it's not a full-scale masjid that people are portraying it to be, and it's not being built at Ground Zero.
What is the problem, though? There are obviously people who are concerned about it. What is the problem with moving the center? Who suffers if it's moved?
Well, I think if it's moved, all of us suffer, really, because it would set a bad precedent for us to move it at this point based on a lot of people's fears and ignorance of what Islam really is and what this center is really about. This center is about a new beginning. It's about taking Islam more mainstream in America. It's about reaching out to the broader community in America, people of all faiths. Is about taking a building and a religion places where perhaps it hasn't been on this scale.
Is anger over 9/11 misdirected at Muslims, do you believe?
Most definitely. I mean, when you look at the acts of 19 people compared to 1.5 or 1.6 billion Muslims in the world, most definitely it's been taken out of context, and they don't represent me. I don't consider them brothers, just like you wouldn't consider someone who does a violent act in the name of Christianity, your brother.
Reverend Franklin Graham has been critical of Islam, and here's one of the comments he made to Fox News.
I said that Islam, after 9/11, that Islam was wicked and evil. I don't believe that Muhammad can lead anybody to God. I believe that Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, and the life.
How is that a distortion of Islam?
Well, Muslims revere Jesus Christ, may peace be upon him. We follow in his way. We respect him. We believe in his virgin birth. We believe in the miracles that he performed by the permission of God. He is a very highly respected prophet in Islam, and we do follow his way. He fell to the ground and he worshiped God. He asked for God's guidance. He washed his feet before he prayed. We do the same. So we follow much in the tradition of Jesus. We just don't stop there. We accept him, we accept Abraham, Moses, Noah, and the last prophet, may peace be upon him, is Muhammad. And we accept them all, and we consider them as brothers, and we think that they all taught the same message.
How do the statements from Franklin Graham, and he's made a number of them over the past year or so, or even before that, how do they impact local Muslims?
Well, especially considering that his home base is here in Charlotte. And the things that he said is really saying that Islam is evil and wicked religion, and to disgrade our prophet, may peace be upon him. These things, we're really on the front lines of these stories, and He is one that, especially his father, has been a highly respected figure in the Christian community and the interfaith community. I respected him. I come from a Christian background. My father was a Christian minister. He used to watch Billy Graham introduce me to him. I've always respected his father, but the son has really taken another direction, and it's very hurtful because he's in a position where he could do much good for in the outreach. I mean, he's in Muslim lands with his ministry, but he's sending the wrong message with these words.
You believe Islamophobia is growing. You hear comments from people like Franklin Graham. Sue Myrick is a concern to you as well.
Yes, because when you have people in institutions, in the mainstream, so to speak, saying these things, and then you have the Reverend saying he's going to burn the Quran, which many Christians and many people would say he's on the far fringe, and I do believe he is. But if you look at the rhetoric, the mainstream, the institutions, and these far fringes are not that far apart, and I think it really comes from the top down.
A lot of comments have been made about Islam and violence. Here is another comment from Franklin Graham we want to listen to here.
True Islam cannot be practiced in this country. You can't beat your wife. You cannot murder your children if you think they've committed adultery or something like that, which they do practice in these other countries.
When you hear something like that, you can understand how people would think, Islam is not the religion that that people should follow.
Well, I would say to Mr. Graham that there are approximately 6 to 8 million Muslims in this country, and it's an insult to them to say that they can't practice Islam in this country. I would argue that you can practice Islam more in this country than you can in most countries that claim to be Muslim countries.
Is violence a part of Islam?
No, violence in no way is a part of Islam. To be honest, self-defense is a part of the faith. I mean, we have a right to defend ourselves if we are attacked or someone invades your home or hurts your family, things like this. But violence is never okay when it's in aggression, if you're the one starting the fight. Of course, fighting is allowed if you're defending yourself.
When you hear about jihad or holy war mentioned, what does that mean to you as a Muslim?
What jihad means struggle in the way of God. And the highest form of jihad is to conquer the demons that's within inside of you, the war within inside of you to be a better person. The translation for holy war is not jihad. Jihad doesn't mean holy war.
A recent Pew poll indicates a confusion about the president's beliefs is growing right now. 18% wrongly identified President Obama as a Muslim. He's a Christian, up from 11% in March of 2009. 43% of Americans now say they don't know what President Obama's religion is at all. The president prayed with Billy and Franklin Graham earlier this year, and here's how Franklin Graham responded to a question about President Obama's faith.
I think the president's problem is that he was born a Muslim. His father was a Muslim. The seed of Islam is passed through the father, like the seed of Judaism is passed through the mother. He was born a Muslim. His father gave him an Islamic name. Now, it's obvious that the president has renounced the Prophet Muhammad, and he has renounced Islam, and he has accepted Jesus Christ. That's what he says he has done. I cannot say that he hasn't. So I just have to believe the president is what he has said.
When you hear those comments from Franklin Graham, does that send a mixed message?
Yeah, it definitely. That's what I was going to say. It looks like he's kind of reserved in saying he actually believes this. It looks like he's still questioning, is President Obama really a Christian? To be fair, yes, it is. If you're the male in an Islamic household and you have a son, even with a Christian woman, yes, you are to raise your child as a Muslim until they become an adult and they can choose for themselves. And in President Obama's case, that's what he did. He became an adult and he found a church and he found Christianity, which is fine with me. But he was a Muslim during his childhood. At a certain point in his childhood, you could say that he was a Muslim because he was being raised as such.
Do you believe that having President Obama as our president with his name has increased anti-Muslim sentiment in this country?
Well, I think what we're facing now, there's a hip-hop group that came out 20 years ago with an album called Fear of a Black Planet. And now it's still relevant today. We have fear of a black president. We have fear of an Islamic nation. There's a lot of fears out there. We have fear of immigration, fear of the rise of Islam in this country. And all of this coupled with a bad economy it kind of makes for a bad storm, so to speak.
All right, Jibril Hough from the Islamic Center of Charlotte. I know we could have a lot more conversation here. I hope you'll come back and join us again. All right, thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Now, coming up at 69 years old, Harold Johnson makes the list of Republican young guns. And a new ad for Senator Richard Burr looks a lot like one used to attack Elizabeth Dole when we come back.